Imagine waking up every morning, looking in the mirror, and seeing someone worthy of respect. Now, imagine stepping out into a world where that respect isn't always reflected back at you. It's a jarring experience, isn't it? One that can leave you feeling small, insignificant, and powerless. But what if I told you that you have the power to change that? What if I told you that you hold the key to commanding respect, even from those who seem determined to deny it to you? Hello and welcome to this transformative journey where we'll explore the 3 powerful ways to handle people who don't respect you. I'm here to tell you that you're not alone in this struggle. In fact, at some point in our lives, we've all faced disrespect, whether it's from a colleague, a family member, or even a stranger on the street. It's a universal experience, but how we choose to respond to it, that's what sets us apart. Now, you might be wondering, who am I to talk about this? Well, I've been exactly where you are. I've felt the sting of disrespect, the burning frustration of being undervalued, and the gnawing self-doubt that follows. But I've also discovered the tools to rise above it, to reclaim my power, and to cultivate the respect I deserve. And today I'm here to share those tools with you. But before we dive in, I want you to take a moment. Close your eyes if you're in a safe place to do so. Take a deep breath. Feel the air filling your lungs, expanding your chest. Now, as you exhale, release with it all the times you felt disrespected, all the moments you felt small. Let them go, because today we're turning the page. We're writing a new chapter in your story, one where you stand tall, where your worth is unquestionable, and where respect becomes your new normal. Are you ready? Because this isn't just about handling disrespect, it's about transforming your entire life. It's about stepping into your power, owning your worth, and creating a ripple effect that will change not only how others see you, but how you see yourself. Now, you might be thinking, that sounds great, but is it really possible? And I'm here to tell you with every fiber of my being, yes. Yes, it is. I've seen it happen countless times, not just in my own life, but in the lives of thousands of people I've had the privilege to work with. People just like you who were tired of feeling disrespected, who were ready for a change, and who found the courage to take that first step. So what are these 3 powerful ways to handle people who don't respect you? Well, I'm not going to give them away just yet, because before we get to the how, we need to understand the why. We need to dig deep into the roots of disrespect to understand its origin, its impact, and why it has the power to affect us so deeply. I think about the last time someone disrespected you. Maybe it was a snide comment from a coworker. How did it make you feel? Angry, hurt, perhaps even a little ashamed? These feelings are normal and they're powerful. They can shape our actions, our decisions, and even our self-perception. But here's the thing, they don't have to. You see, respect isn't just about how others treat us. It's about how we treat ourselves. It's about the standards we set, the boundaries we draw, and the value we place on our own worth. And that's where our journey begins. Throughout this talk, we're going to explore the psychology of respect, both giving and receiving it. We'll delve into the science behind human behavior, uncover the hidden patterns that drive disrespect, and most importantly, we'll learn how to break free from these patterns. But I want to be clear, this isn't about becoming confrontational or aggressive. It's not about fighting fire with fire. The methods we'll discuss are rooted in empathy, understanding, and self-empowerment. Because true respect isn't demanded, it's earned. And not through force or intimidation, but through the quiet strength of self-assurance and genuine connection. Now, I can almost hear some of you thinking, but you don't know my situation. You don't know how difficult the people in my life are. And you're right, I don't know your specific circumstances. But what I do know is this: regardless of your situation, you have more power than you realize. You have the ability to change the dynamic, to shift the energy, and to cultivate respect even in the most challenging environments. As we embark on this journey together, I want you to keep an open mind. Some of the concepts we'll discuss might challenge your existing beliefs. They might push you out of your comfort zone. And that's okay. In fact, it's more than okay, it's necessary. Because growth doesn't happen in comfort. Transformation doesn't occur when we stay in our safe, familiar patterns. It happens when we dare to think differently, to act differently, to be different. So, are you ready to take that leap? Are you ready to discover the 3 powerful ways to handle people who don't respect you? Are you ready to transform not just how others see you, but how you see yourself? Before we dive into the first method, I want to share a personal story with you. A story that illustrates just how transformative these techniques can be. A few years ago, I found myself in a toxic work environment. My ideas were constantly dismissed, my contributions overlooked, and my presence often ignored. It was soul crushing. I'd go home every day feeling drained, defeated, and frankly disrespected. I tried everything I thought I was supposed to do. I worked harder, stayed later, went above and beyond on every project. But nothing changed. The disrespect continued, and my self-esteem plummeted. I started to question my own worth, my own abilities. I was at a breaking point. And then something shifted. Not in my external circumstances, but within me. I realized that I had been looking for respect in all the wrong places. I had been seeking validation from others, when what I really needed was to validate myself. That realization was the first step on a journey that completely transformed my life. Now, I know what you might be thinking. That's easier said than done, and you're right. It's not easy. But it is simple. And that's what we're going to explore today. Simple, powerful techniques that you can start implementing right now to change how you're treated and how you feel about yourself. So, let's dive into the first of our 3 ways to handle people who don't respect you. Are you ready? Here it is: cultivate unshakable self-respect. Now, I can almost hear the collective sigh, self-respect. That's your big secret, but bear with me, because this isn't just about feeling good about yourself. This is about fundamentally changing the energy you project into the world. You see, respect is like a mirror. The respect we receive from others is often a reflection of the respect we have for ourselves. When we truly, deeply respect ourselves, it changes how we carry ourselves, how we speak, how we interact with the world. And the world, in turn, responds differently to us. But here's the catch: this kind of self-respect can't be faked. It's not about putting on a brave face or pretending to be confident. It's about doing the deep internal work to truly value yourself, independent of external validation. So how do we cultivate this unshakable self-respect? It starts with self-awareness. We need to become conscious of our self-talk, of the stories we tell ourselves. How often do you catch yourself thinking, "I'm not good enough," or "I don't deserve better"? These thoughts, often operating below our conscious awareness, shape our reality more than we realize. The first step is to become aware of these thoughts. Notice them when they arise. Don't judge them. Don't try to push them away. Just observe them. This act of observation is powerful in itself. It creates a space between you and your thoughts, allowing you to see that you are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. Once you've developed this awareness, the next step is to challenge these negative self-perceptions. When you catch yourself thinking, "I'm not good enough," ask yourself, is that really true? Where's the evidence for that? Often you'll find that these beliefs are based on old experiences, on other people's opinions, on societal expectations, not on your true worth. Replace these limiting beliefs with empowering ones. Instead of "I'm not good enough," try "I am constantly growing and improving." Instead of "I don't deserve better," affirm "I deserve respect and kindness." Now, I know what you're thinking. Positive affirmations? Really, but hear me out. The power of these affirmations isn't in the words themselves. It's in the shift they create in your mindset, in your energy, in how you carry yourself in the world. When you truly believe in your own worth, it shows. It shows in how you stand, in the tone of your voice, in the boundaries you set. And people respond to that. They may not even know why, but they'll start treating you differently. But self-respect isn't just about positive thinking. It's also about action. It's about making choices that honor your worth. This might mean saying no to things that don't serve you. It might mean speaking up when you disagree, even if it's uncomfortable. It might mean walking away from relationships or situations that consistently undermine your self-worth. These actions aren't always easy. In fact, they can be downright terrifying at first. But each time you honor yourself in this way, you're sending a powerful message to yourself and to the world that you are worthy of respect. Now, let's talk about a crucial aspect of self-respect that often gets overlooked: self-care. And I'm not just talking about bubble baths and face masks, although those can be wonderful. I'm talking about truly taking care of yourself on all levels: physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Physical self-care is about treating your body with respect. This means nourishing it with healthy food, moving it in ways that feel good, giving it the rest it needs. When you take care of your physical health, you're sending a message to yourself and the world that you value yourself. Emotional self-care involves allowing yourself to feel your feelings without judgment. It's about developing emotional intelligence, learning to navigate your emotions in a healthy way. This might involve practices like journaling, meditation, or seeking therapy. Mental self-care is about stimulating your mind, challenging yourself to grow and learn. This could mean reading books, taking courses, engaging in stimulating conversations. When you invest in your mental growth, you're building your self-confidence and expanding your perspective. Spiritual self-care doesn't necessarily mean religion, unless that resonates with you. It's about connecting with something larger than yourself, finding meaning and purpose in your life. This could involve practices like meditation, spending time in nature, or engaging in activities that bring you a sense of peace and connection. When you prioritize self-care in these areas, you're demonstrating to yourself that you are worthy of care and attention. And this, in turn, raises your self-respect. But here's where many people get stuck. They think, I'll start respecting myself when others start respecting me, but that's backwards. The truth is, others will start respecting you when you start respecting yourself. Think about it this way: have you ever been around someone who exudes self-respect? Someone who carries themselves with quiet confidence, who speaks their truth without apology, who sets clear boundaries. How did you feel around that person? Chances are you felt a natural inclination to treat them with respect. That's the power of self-respect. It creates a field around you, an energy that others can feel. And they respond to it, often without even realizing why. Now, I want to address something important here. Cultivating self-respect doesn't mean becoming arrogant or self-centered. In fact, true self-respect often leads to greater empathy and compassion for others. When you truly value yourself, you don't need to put others down to feel good. You can appreciate others' worth without it threatening your own. So how do we put this into practice? How do we start cultivating this unshakable self-respect today? Here are some practical steps you can take. First, start your day with intention. Before you even get out of bed, set an intention for how you want to treat yourself that day. Maybe it's, today I choose to speak kindly to myself, or today I will honor my boundaries. Setting this intention primes your mind to look for opportunities to respect yourself throughout the day. Next, practice self-compassion. We often treat ourselves far more harshly than we would treat a friend. When you make a mistake or face a setback, instead of berating yourself, try speaking to yourself as you would to a loved one. It's okay. Everyone makes mistakes. What can I learn from this? Another powerful practice is to keep a self-respect journal. At the end of each day, write down 3 things you did that day to honor your worth. Maybe you spoke up in a meeting, or you took some time for self-care, or you said no to something that didn't feel right. Acknowledging these actions reinforces the habit of self-respect. Now, let's talk about boundaries. Setting and maintaining healthy boundaries is a crucial part of self-respect. But for many of us, it's also one of the most challenging. We worry that setting boundaries will make us seem selfish or unkind. But the truth is, clear boundaries are a sign of self-respect and actually improve our relationships with others. Start small. Practice saying no to small things that don't align with your values or priorities. Pay attention to how it feels. You might notice some discomfort at first, but also a sense of empowerment. As you get more comfortable, you can start setting bigger boundaries. Remember, you're not responsible for other people's reactions to your boundaries. Some people, especially those who are used to overstepping, might push back. That's okay. Stand firm, knowing that you're honoring yourself. Another powerful way to cultivate self-respect is to keep your promises to yourself. How often do we make commitments to ourselves to exercise, to eat healthier, to start that project only to break them? Each time we do this, we're eroding our self-trust. Start making small promises to yourself and keeping them. This builds self-trust and self-respect. Now, I want to address something that often comes up when we talk about self-respect. Many of us have a deep-seated belief that we need to earn respect, that we need to achieve certain things or be a certain way to be worthy of respect. But here's the truth: your worth is innate. You are worthy of respect simply because you exist. This doesn't mean you stop striving for growth or achievement, but it means that your sense of self-worth isn't dependent on those things. You can appreciate your accomplishments without tying your value to them. One way to reinforce this is to practice unconditional self-acceptance. This means accepting yourself fully, flaws and all. It doesn't mean you don't work on improving yourself, but it means you don't withhold self-respect until you've reached some arbitrary standard of perfection. Try this exercise. Look in the mirror each morning and say, I accept myself fully, and completely notice any resistance that comes up. Don't judge it, just observe it. Over time, you may find this acceptance becomes easier and more natural. Now, let's talk about how this self-respect translates into our interactions with others, especially those who don't respect us. When you have a strong foundation of self-respect, you're less likely to be rattled by others' disrespect. You recognize that their behavior says more about them than it does about you. This doesn't mean you become immune to hurt feelings, but it does mean you're better equipped to handle them. Instead of internalizing others' disrespect, you can see it for what it is: a reflection of their own issues and insecurities. From this place of self-respect, you can choose how to respond. Maybe you calmly call out the disrespectful behavior. Maybe you choose to disengage. Maybe you respond with kindness, recognizing that hurt people often hurt people. The key is that you're responding from a place of self-assurance, not reacting from a place of insecurity. As you cultivate this self-respect, you may notice changes in your relationships. Some people might be drawn to your new energy. Others might be uncomfortable with it, especially if they're used to treating you with disrespect. This is normal. As you change, your relationships will change too. Remember, you're not responsible for making others comfortable with your growth. Your responsibility is to honor your own worth. As you do this, you'll naturally attract relationships that reflect your self-respect. Now, I want to share a powerful visualization exercise that can help reinforce this sense of self-respect. Close your eyes if you're in a safe place to do so. Imagine yourself surrounded by a bubble of golden light. This light represents your self-respect. It's warm, comforting, and protective. Imagine this light growing stronger and brighter with each breath you take. Now, imagine someone approaching you with disrespect. See their words or actions bouncing off your bubble of self-respect. They can't penetrate it. You remain centered, grounded in your worth. Take a moment to really feel this. This is the power of unshakable self-respect. Open your eyes. How did that feel? Remember, you can return to this visualization anytime you need a reminder of your innate worth. As we wrap up this first method, I want to emphasize that cultivating self-respect is an ongoing process. It's not something you achieve once and then you're done. It's a practice, something you commit to every day. There will be days when it feels easy and days when it's a struggle. That's okay. The key is to keep showing up for yourself, to keep choosing self-respect, even when it's challenging. And here's something beautiful: as you cultivate this self-respect, you'll find that it naturally extends to others. When you truly respect yourself, you're more likely to treat others with respect too. You create a ripple effect of respect that can transform your relationships and your world. So are you ready to commit to cultivating unshakable self-respect? Are you ready to honor your worth, set clear boundaries, and create a life that reflects your true value? Remember, this is the foundation. This is where it all begins. Now, let's move on to our second method for handling people who don't respect you. This method is all about mastering the art of assertive communication. Communication is the bridge between our inner world and the outer world. It's how we express our thoughts, feelings, and needs. And when it comes to commanding respect, how we communicate is crucial. Many of us fall into one of two extremes when faced with disrespect. We either become passive, swallowing our feelings and allowing the disrespect to continue, or we become aggressive, lashing out in anger. But there's a middle ground, a powerful alternative: assertiveness. Assertive communication is about expressing your thoughts, feelings, and needs clearly and respectfully, while also respecting the rights of others. It's about standing up for yourself without putting others down. And it's a skill that can dramatically change how others treat you. So how do we become more assertive? It starts with clarity. Before you can communicate assertively, you need to be clear about what you think, feel, and need. This goes back to our first method, cultivating self-respect. When you respect yourself, you're more in tune with your own thoughts and feelings, and you're more likely to believe that they're worth expressing. Once you're clear on what you want to communicate, the next step is to express it using I statements. Instead of saying, "You're always disrespecting me," which puts the other person on the defensive, try something like, "I feel disrespected when you interrupt me in meetings." This puts the focus on your experience rather than attacking the other person. Another key aspect of assertive communication is being specific. Vague complaints are easy to dismiss, but when you can point to specific behaviors and their impact on you, it's harder for others to ignore or deny. For example, instead of saying, "You never listen to me," you might say, "When I'm speaking and you look at your phone, I feel like my words aren't important to you. I'd appreciate it if you could give me your full attention." Feel and suggest a solution. This is the structure of effective assertive communication. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but what if I speak up and they still don't listen? What if they get angry or defensive? These are valid concerns. Assertive communication doesn't guarantee that others will respond positively, but it does increase the likelihood of being heard and respected. Remember, you're not responsible for other people's reactions. Your responsibility is to express yourself clearly and respectfully. How they respond is up to them. That said, there are ways to increase the chances of a positive response. One powerful technique is to use empathy. Before expressing your own needs, try to understand and acknowledge the other person's perspective. For example, you might say something like, "I understand that you're under a lot of pressure at work, and that might be why you've been short with me lately. I want to support you, but I also need to let you know that when you speak to me in that tone, it makes me feel disrespected." This approach shows that you're not just focused on your own needs, but that you're trying to understand theirs as well. It creates a collaborative atmosphere rather than an adversarial one. Another important aspect of assertive communication is nonverbal cues. Your body language, tone of voice, and facial expressions all play a role in how your message is received. When communicating assertively, aim for a calm, confident posture. Make eye contact. Speak in a clear, steady voice. These nonverbal cues reinforce your words and convey self-respect. Now, let's talk about timing. Assertive communication isn't just about what you say, but when you say it. If someone is clearly angry or upset, it might not be the best time to assert your needs. Similarly, if you're feeling overwhelmed with emotion, it might be better to take some time to calm down before initiating a conversation. Choose a time when both you and the other person are calm and have the mental space to engage in a meaningful conversation. If necessary, you can say something like, "I'd like to talk about something important. Is now a good time, or should we schedule a time to discuss it?" Another key aspect of assertive communication is active listening. It might seem counterintuitive, but being a good listener actually makes you a more effective communicator. When you truly listen to others, you gain a better understanding of their perspective, which can help you communicate your own needs more effectively. Active listening involves giving the other person your full attention, acknowledging what they're saying even if you disagree, and asking clarifying questions. This shows respect for the other person and encourages them to extend the same courtesy to you. But here's the thing: assertiveness actually helps prevent conflict in the long run. When you communicate assertively, You're addressing issues as they arise before they have a chance to build up and explode. You're also modeling respectful communication, which can encourage others to do the same. That said, it's important to be prepared for the possibility that asserting yourself might lead to some initial discomfort or resistance, especially if people aren't used to you standing up for yourself. This is where your foundation of self-respect comes in. Remember, you have the right to express your thoughts and feelings, even if others don't like it. Let's practice some assertive responses to common disrespectful behaviors. Imagine someone constantly interrupts you when you're speaking. An assertive response might be, "I wasn't finished speaking. I'd appreciate it if you'd let me complete my thought before responding." Or perhaps someone makes a dismissive comment about your idea in a meeting. You might say, "I put a lot of thought into that proposal. I'd like to hear your specific concerns so we can discuss them constructively." These responses are clear, respectful, and focused on the behavior rather than attacking the person. They set a boundary while also leaving room for dialogue. Now, I want to address something important: assertiveness in different cultural contexts. In some cultures, direct communication might be seen as rude or confrontational. If this is the case in your cultural context, you might need to adapt your assertive communication style. This doesn't mean you can't be assertive. It just means you might need to find culturally appropriate ways to express your needs. This might involve using more indirect language or finding ways to save face for both parties. For example, instead of saying, "I disagree," you might say, "I see your point, and I wonder if we might also consider the key is to find a balance between respecting cultural norms and honoring your own needs." As you practice assertive communication, you'll likely encounter challenging situations. One common scenario is dealing with someone who tries to intimidate or bully you. In these situations, it's important to stay calm and composed, even if you don't feel that way inside. A technique you can use is called the broken record method. This involves calmly repeating your position without getting drawn into an argument. For example, if someone is pressuring you to do something you're not comfortable with, you might say, "I understand you want me to do this, but I'm not comfortable with it." If they persist, you simply repeat, "I understand, but I'm not comfortable with it." This technique can be powerful because it shows that you're not going to be swayed by pressure or manipulation. It reinforces your boundary without escalating the situation. Another challenging scenario is when someone dismisses or invalidates your feelings. In these situations, it's important to stand firm in your right to have and express your emotions. You might say something like, "I understand you see it differently, but these are my feelings and they're valid to me. I'm not asking you to agree, just to respect that this is how I feel." Remember, no one has the right to tell you how you should or shouldn't feel. Your emotions are your own, and you have the right to express them. Now, let's talk about a powerful tool in assertive communication: the art of saying no. Many of us struggle with this, especially if we've been conditioned to be people pleasers. But being able to say no is crucial for maintaining healthy boundaries and commanding respect. When saying no, it's important to be clear and firm without feeling the need to over-explain or apologize. A simple no that doesn't work for me is often enough. If you want to soften it, you can add, "I appreciate you thinking of me, but I'm not able to do that." Remember, every time you say yes to something you don't really want to do, you're saying no to something else, often your own needs and priorities. Saying no when necessary is an act of self-respect. As you practice assertive communication, you might find that some relationships in your life begin to change. People who are used to you being passive might be surprised or even upset when you start standing up for yourself. This is normal and doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. In fact, it's a sign that you're growing. Some relationships might go through an adjustment period as people get used to the new, more assertive you. Others might naturally fall away if they were based on an imbalance of respect. This process can be challenging, but it's also incredibly rewarding. As you become more assertive, you'll likely find that your relationships become more authentic and satisfying. You'll attract people who respect you and value your voice. Now, I want to address something that often comes up when we talk about assertiveness: the fear of being seen as aggressive. It's important to understand the difference between assertiveness and aggression. Assertiveness is about standing up for your own rights while respecting the rights of others. Aggression, on the other hand, involves standing up for your rights in a way that violates the rights of others. For example, let's say someone cuts in front of you in line. An aggressive response might be to yell at them or push them out of the way. An assertive response would be to calmly say, "Excuse me, but I was next in line. The end of the line is back there." The assertive response stands up for your rights without attacking or disrespecting the other person. It's firm, but not hostile. As you practice assertive communication, you might find that it feels unnatural at first, especially if you're used to being passive. That's okay. Like any skill, assertiveness takes practice. Be patient with yourself as you learn and grow. One way to build your assertiveness skills is to start small. Practice in low-stakes situations first. For example, you might practice sending back a meal at a restaurant if it's not what you ordered, or asking a store clerk for help finding an item. As you become more comfortable, you can gradually work up to more challenging situations. Each time you communicate assertively, you're building your confidence and reinforcing your self-respect. Remember, assertiveness is not about winning or getting your way all the time. It's about expressing yourself clearly and respectfully, and being willing to negotiate and find mutually satisfactory solutions. Sometimes, even when you communicate assertively, the other person might not respond. The key is to remember that their response is not a reflection of your worth. You've done your part by communicating clearly and respectfully. How they choose to respond is their responsibility, not yours. As we wrap up this second method, I want to emphasize that becoming assertive is a journey, not a destination. There will be times when you communicate perfectly assertively, and times when you fall back into old patterns. That's okay. The important thing is to keep practicing, keep learning, and keep honoring your own worth. Assertive communication, combined with the unshakable self-respect we discussed earlier, creates a powerful foundation for commanding respect from others. When you respect yourself and communicate that respect clearly, you set the standard for how others should treat you. Now, let's move on to our third and final method for handling people who don't respect you. This method is about creating a positive environment that naturally cultivates respect. You might be wondering, how can I create a positive environment when I'm dealing with disrespectful people? It's a great question. And the answer lies in understanding the ripple effect of our own actions and attitudes. You see, respect, like many things in life, often operates on a principle of reciprocity. When we consistently demonstrate respect for ourselves and for others, we create an environment where respect becomes the norm. This doesn't mean that everyone will immediately start treating you with respect. But it does mean that you're setting a powerful example and creating conditions where respect is more likely to flourish. So how do we go about creating this positive, respect-fostering environment? It starts with mindset. Instead of focusing on the disrespect you're receiving, shift your focus to the respect you want to see in the world. Be the change you wish to see, as the saying goes. This might sound idealistic, but it's actually a very practical approach. When we approach our interactions with an attitude of respect, we're more likely to elicit respectful behavior from others. It's not about ignoring disrespect when it occurs, but about creating a baseline of respect in your interactions. One powerful way to do this is through the practice of empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. When we approach situations with empathy, we're better able to understand why someone might be acting disrespectfully, and we're more equipped to respond in a way that can potentially transform the interaction. For example, let's say you have a coworker who consistently talks over you in meetings. Instead of immediately labeling them as disrespectful, try to empathize. Maybe they're insecure about their ideas and feel they need to assert themselves strongly to be heard. Maybe they come from a family or cultural background where interrupting is more acceptable. This doesn't excuse their behavior, but understanding it can help you respond more effectively. You might approach them privately and say something like, "I've noticed that you often have a lot to contribute in meetings. I value your input, and I also want to make sure everyone has a chance to share their ideas." Could we work together to find a way to make sure all voices are heard? This approach acknowledges their contributions while also asserting your need to be heard. It invites collaboration rather than confrontation. And importantly, it models the respect you want to see. Another key aspect of creating a positive environment is practicing gratitude. When we focus on what we're grateful for, it shifts our entire perspective. Instead of dwelling on the disrespect we've experienced, we start noticing the moments of respect and kindness, or you witness the kind interaction between strangers. The more you look for these moments, the more you'll notice them. This practice does two things. First, it helps rewire your brain to notice positive interactions, which can help counterbalance the negative effects of disrespect. Second, it reminds you that respect does exist in the world, which can be encouraging when you're dealing with disrespectful behavior. Now, let's talk about the power of setting a positive example. When you consistently treat others with respect, even when they're not extending the same courtesy to you, you're demonstrating what respectful behavior looks like. This can be particularly powerful in environments where disrespect has become the norm. For instance, if you're in a workplace where gossip and backbiting are common, you might choose not to participate. Instead, you could make a point of speaking positively about others, giving credit where it's due, and addressing conflicts directly and respectfully. Over time, this behavior can influence the culture of your workplace. Remember, you're not responsible for changing other people's behavior. But by consistently modeling respect, you create an environment where respect is more likely to thrive. Another important aspect of creating a positive environment is setting and maintaining clear boundaries. We talked about this in relation to assertive communication, but it's worth emphasizing here. Clear boundaries are a form of self-respect, and they also show others how you expect to be treated. When you consistently enforce your boundaries firmly but respectfully, you're teaching people how to interact with you.